Hello, and we're back for Module 1, Day 2 video lecture. And you've seen the first video, you know we're going to go over concepts, examples, upcoming assignments. And if you're still confused about my expectations for the course or kind of like general housekeeping sorts of things, stuff we would go over the first week if we were in a face-to-face class. There is a link for a PowerPoint, and it covers a lot of the stuff that's in that the M0 module. There's a PowerPoint I recorded, uploaded to YouTube, and it's 16 minutes. It might clear up some confusion that you have. And this video lecture is going to illuminate some things for you, particularly that mindset you might be stuck in. And it's not a bad thing to have that mindset of academic writing. I need to have a neutral tone, and I need to put as much as I can on the page because the teacher probably wants 4-page minimum, and all my sources need to be academic. Professional writing is similar, but in a lot of ways, it's a different world from academic writing, because with academic writing, you might have to have a particular type of source. That's an important way to differentiate academic and professional writing. But for professional writing, a source could be a customer. It could be you saw some tweets, or you saw your Trustpilot reviews, and those could be your sources. And based on how those customers or those reviewers are feeling, even if they're lying or their spelling is incorrect or it's not an academic source, it still has some bearing on, you know, your memo or your project proposal in some way. And so it's a viable source. And so sources kind of differ for academic professional writing. Instead of thinking you have to write in a neutral tone, which you shouldn't think that for academic writing either, professional writing hinges on who are you writing to, because your boss, your colleague that's also your friend, your tone, the way you string those words together, it's going to be different for each one of those people. And you'll find that this class with these stupid scenarios, it's training you for that sort of thinking. How am I going to tailor this writing for that audience? And then academic professional writing differ a lot, because academic writing, you might have a lot of space for that paper, that research paper. But then if you were going to research something for professional writing, you might have to compile that into like a 1 or 2 page memo. And again, say what you mean, using as little words as possible. Brevity, brevity, brevity for professional writing. So separating your mindset from what you've encountered in other writing courses, staging it in this new context of professional writing. And as we talk about professional writing, I'm going to mention a lot, or you'll see it in the assignment guidelines, something called PAD. And that stands for purpose, audience, and design. And those rhetorical concepts that you learned in composition, and you thought you'd never use them again, they are important for contextualizing the elements of PAD that you should consider every time you're about to draft a document for this course or in the professional world. You have to think of, why the flip am I writing this, and why should the audience care? And that deals with your credibility, your ethos. And then who are you writing to? Because that matters a great deal. Is it a formal relationship? Are they below or above you on that professional ladder? And you're going to have to institute facts and brevity or logos to get your point across. And then design. What should it look like? And look is important for your credibility, your ethos, and the feel of the document, how that person is going to feel when they look at your document. If there's no header on your business letter, or it looks like an email, but you call it a business letter, they're going to feel a certain way about it, and it's going to impact your credibility. And we have on the left here an example of a business letter. It's not exactly what I'm looking for, but it has a lot of the elements of, if I'm asking you to turn in a business letter for a part of an assignment, it should look a lot like this. And even you guys are not in an actual professional group, but I would love to see a header that you make up or you get from somewhere else. It helps for that look and that feel of the document type. And you should be aware of these three things whenever you're about to draft something for this class. And part of creating professional documents, we're going to start with emails, something that seems so basic, but people fuck it up all the time because you either write too much in an email, you're too casual. Even just the way you start the email can send a message. People might read what you wrote in a certain light, and you didn't mean that. And you always have to consider who is the audience. An email is one of the most, it's one of the easiest ways to consider audience because you have a to-line. You have to send it to somebody. And when you're drafting a memo or a letter, yeah, there's also you have to consider who you're writing it to, but you're not really forced to type in their address and like you definitely have to send it to them. But for an email, you do. And again, your audience shapes how you're going to say what you're going to say, how assertive or maybe passive you can get away with it, or if you need to be assertive / aggressive, but you should really never be aggressive. There's examples of professional emails and the Understanding Concepts Day 2 page, a slideshow about email etiquette, and a video that will help highlight elements of emails that you didn't really consider. And then just some more thoughts on emails, in particular to be careful because emails in the workplace, generally they're public. They can be shared outside of work later, or if there's an investigation or something, other people are going to be viewing what you wrote. Tone, how you're saying something is important, and I already mentioned that. And then the structure, does it look like an email? Does it have an opener, a middle, and then an end and a closing kind of sign off? There's a link in the Understanding Concepts Day 2 page about email structure with some tips and tricks. I think I brought it up last video lecture, but it has some things in there that are super important to these first few email assignments that you're submitting. And then project 1, you're probably going to be submitting an email or 2 for your rough and final draft. And these are the sorts of things I'm looking for when I'm scanning your email. And I'm like, did they do this? Did they do that? Did they use an opening that is not hi or hello, like we saw with this other example? You should never start with hi or hello. It's too informal. It's kind of silly. And you shouldn't start an email the way you would start a face-to-face conversation because it's not face-to-face. The best way to start an email is just using the person's first and last name if it's more formal, or you can even say, Mr. or Mrs., but then you're getting into gender and you want to be cognizant of that. So just saying their first and last name for formal, Dear John Smith. Or if you do, it's less formal, you can get away with just Dear John or just John, and then your email. Your email, that should not be one fat block of text. It should be separated into ideas. Like, here's the beginning. My first line of the email should already be conveying to you what I care about, why I'm sending you the email. It shouldn't be like, hi, how are you doing? They don't care. And just some other things that you need to consider when you're drafting the email, and it's important to go over for later. And there's a link for that, again, in Understanding Concepts. In Understanding Concepts, I also have a listing of expectations for MLA versus APA formatting of assignments, because you're still probably confused about that. It's week 1, I get it. I want you, I'm not going to choose it for you. You are going to choose to format your assignments in MLA or APA. And it should be based on your major or whatever academic track that you're on. So if you're an English major, most likely you're going to use MLA. If you're in business or a science type academic track, most of those types of classes are going to be using APA. So it's good practice for you to use whichever formatting style is most prevalent in your academic track. And you'll probably already be somewhat familiar with it. But if you check that concepts page, it'll have more details on my expectations. There is an optional conference day next week, because this is an asynchronous class. We're not really gonna, you and I, in the teacher-student sense, we're not really going to talk. We're gonna be communicating in this very sort of isolated space online. But if you do want to meet with me via a Zoom conference, you have that option to do so on, I believe it's July 7th. Don't hold me to that date. There is a sign-up sheet. At the top of the sign-up sheet, it looks like this. It has the Zoom meeting info. It has the times that they start. And then if you scroll down on the sheet, there's places where you can put your name and time slots and stuff. And if you do decide to attend, and all the times are in Eastern, you can receive up to 3 points of extra credit, and that's if you're on time. You're meeting me with questions that are of substance and not just, hey, what's up? So you can receive up to 3 points of extra credit just for attending this conference to talk about Project 1 or just anything else. The password for this video lecture is Evil Season 2, which you should check out if you haven't already. It's a great show. First season is on Netflix. Help you pass the time. Collaborative writing. Week 1, I'm already going to throw a collaborative writing assignment your way. I've already created the groups for you. If you click on the people link on the left-hand side of Canvas, and then you click like not project groups, I forget what it's called, but it's a tab where you'll see there's groups of 3 people. You uncollapse all of those little groups, find your name, and those are your group mates for the collaborative assignment for this week. And you're going to have to reach out to these people on your own. Before you do so, I suggest you review the collaborative assignment project guidelines, review the plagiarism and group conduct links that are in Understanding Concepts, so you understand what plagiarism is in a group assignment and what is expected from group conduct, in particular, not to be an asshole and expect people to turn things in when you say, and not to be an asshole and to procrastinate and drive your group mates crazy. You all need to compromise with each other. And then the best way to quickly conduct online collaboration is to Google, make a Google Doc. Make sure the doc is shareable. That is super important. Create a link of that doc, email it to your group members. At the top of the doc, have a date and a time stating this is when we should finish all parts of this assignment so we can submit it at a reasonable time. And then maybe on that doc also the assignment guidelines are there, and you've broken it down into like Cheryl can do the opening part, Mohammed can do the middle, and then Jennifer can do the proofreading or something. You kind of delegate. I can't stress enough, the Google Doc is the way to go. You don't have to do a Zoom meeting for this tiny week 1 assignment, but this is you dipping your toes into online collaboration. It's not easy, but it can be easier with a Google Doc, and you just email it to your teammates and you guys piece things together from there. You're responsible for getting in touch with these people. I'm not going to do it for you. You can reach out to me with a question maybe, or about like group dynamics, or if you're unsure about something. But if you reach out to me asking me to reach out to your people, I'm not going to do it. Only one person needs to upload the collaborative assignment to Canvas, and then you'll all get a group grade for it based on the checklist you're going to include at the top of the assignment. And we'll talk about that when we look at the assignment guidelines. I think I meant to delete that and I didn't. Okay, so let's look at those upcoming assignments for day 2 stuff. So day 2 stuff includes some more reading, but you know, so we have some chapters here that you can't download. You have to go to USF Rights, like I showed you the last time. You select the raw or e-text and you look up these chapters so you get a better idea of email, letter, memo, and structure, because these are the 3 formats that are going to inform your foundations for project 1, but we'll talk about that in a second. I know I've hinted at it anyway. Your first day 2 assignment, and there's 3 total. This first week it's awful, I'll admit that, but again, 6-week course. Is due July 1st, worth 10 points. And this is not the collaborative assignment. It's one where you're looking at examples of letter, email, memo, and on your assignment template that you should always have, you are explaining for each of those, for the letter, email, memo. So you're going to have this 3 times. You're explaining what worked and what didn't based on these elements of the document that are listed down there. And the last thing you're going to do is pick, after you've talked about the weaknesses, strengths of each one of them, you're just going to pick one of them. Maybe it's the letter, I don't know. And you're going to rewrite it in a way that you think better reflects tone or brevity or whatever you think would work better. And you're going to have it down below. So everything's going to be on one cumulative document, strengths and weaknesses for each of those examples. And then I picked one of them and I think I could rewrite it better. And here's my rewrite. And how am I going to grade this assignment? That's how I'm going to grade it. And you submit it to Canvas here as a file upload by July 1st, 11:59 p.m. And this is the collaborative assignment in which you can find your teammates by clicking on people. You click on week 1 collaborative drafting groups. And again, you uncollapse all these, you find your name, and then you're like, oh, okay, these are my 3 teammates. Inbox, email them. You should only email them once you have a Google Doc or you have an idea of what you're doing. Don't just panic and email them. Nobody wants that. So what you're doing is reading the scenario. It's kind of like that Dorito thing that you've already done. And then instead of me giving you the genre, like with the Dorito thing, you knew you had to write an email. With this scenario, you have to choose, am I writing an email, a memo, or letter for this? As a group, you're going to decide that. And on that Google Doc, you can complete a purpose, audience, and design analysis considering these questions. But I don't care about this necessarily. I don't need to see this once you submit your assignment. This is not part of it. On your submission, all I need to see is you drafted either a memo, a letter. Here's their other assignment. On your assignment, all I need to see is a letter, and you drafted a letter. That's all I need to see. I don't need to see your pad analysis. That's just to get your gears turning. So drafting one document collaboratively, it can be hard. It can be like, who's going to do what? It's just one document. But one person might be responsible for the opening paragraph. Maybe that's Amber. And then middle is Jason. And then closing is Jason. I don't know. And Amber's also responsible for the design. She's going to make sure it looks like a letter. Jason's going to look at the proofreading too. And Nathan is going to upload. You decide before you start drafting anything, who's going to do what. It will help you. If you don't decide these things, you will be bickering with each other later or trying to blame each other. And I don't want to hear that shit. I always get emails about it. I ignore them because y'all need to figure it out. And I'm giving you a template of ideas for it. And it's something you're going to have to work on the last 4 weeks of this course in a group project anyways. So I'm tossing you into collaborative writing, and you complete the assignment. Somebody, whoever was supposed to upload it, uploads it to Canvas here by July 3rd. But what I also need to see on the document, since it is a collaborative document, to ensure you guys are thinking about plagiarism and citing your work and not other people's work, sort of an accounting for each other. At the top, before your letter begins, I want to see a checklist. And that is a checklist of your teammates' names. And if they contributed anything at all, I don't need to know what they contributed to the document, that they did the opening or whatever. I don't care about that. A check mark or an X to me indicates that person contributed in some way, and I will give them a grade for the assignment. If the line is blank, that tells me, okay, Amber and Jason got in touch with each other and worked on the document in whatever way they saw fit. Nathan never did anything. Nathan gets a 0. Even though it's a group assignment, this is my way of holding all group members accountable and accounting for people who don't do anything at all, and to filter down on those complaint emails that I used to get in the past about so-and-so didn't help. Why are you giving them a grade? It's really none of your business what grade I give another student, but this helps clear things up anyway. So you need a checklist at the top of your assignment. You need to draft either a letter, a memo, or an email to respond to the one person in the scenario, and somebody needs to upload it. That's the collaborative assignment for the week. And then there's one more assignment to close out the week. And that is the start of project 1. And here's some details about it. Here's where you can see all those 4 scenarios that we talked about in the last video lecture, where you're choosing just one of these, like you did in the Doritos and the collaborative assignment. It has a scenario, and you're picking how you're going to respond to one of those scenarios. You're not responding to all 4. Except you're not responding in full yet. You're just drafting an outline this week. You're doing so on your template that you use for everything in my class, or everything that says MLA APA formatting, because some of them won't say that. Sometimes I don't care about MLA or APA formatting. But you're going to outline the scenario you chose. At the bottom or the top of the document, you're going to type that password. Or maybe, again, it will be at the bottom of the doc, but I need to see it somewhere. And if you're like, I don't know how to make an outline for this, I still don't get it, here's a sample. And I suggest you copy and you paste it here, because I need to know which scenario did you choose to put your number. I need to know who you're responding to and how you would respond to them, and you're guessing because you don't know. But again, the permutation is up to you based off of the 3 that you have to choose from: letter, memo, or email. And you're deciding which document type is appropriate for that person and the seriousness or not, or what I need to relate to the person based on what the scenario is telling me. Maybe an email works, or maybe a memo is best for both of these people, or maybe a letter is needed for that dude and 2 memos. Part of your grade for project 1 is deciding based off the scenario. And I gave you the audience, I just didn't give you the genres, and you need to figure that out for the outline and some ideas of like phrasing, what would you respond and what's most important. And then next week, you're actually going to do your drafts. So that is due on July 3rd, 11:59 p.m., your outline, including the password. And if you have any questions, you email or you WhatsApp me about Module 1, Day 2 stuff.